I think this is our window. I don't think we can really survive another turn. So this is just a check, you know. For today's video, I'm going to be covering the Twisted Fate and Fizz deck. This is a deck that is really fun to pilot because you just draw a ton of cards and it's centered around either leveling Twisted Fate and then popping off doing ridiculous things because he is great once leveled, or you kind of win through chip damage and then a big Burblefish turn where you pop down a bunch of elusives, swing for a lot. The deck also runs Mind Meld, which acts as a finisher as well. So not a new list, been pretty popular on the ladder, very popular in tournament play. So I'm going to run through it pretty quickly here. 3 Poro Cannons. This is another source of elusive units. This is also a card that you can use at burst speed to help out things like Fizz. The Poros, they're created cards, so they help out your Ballistic Bot as far as it growing. Ballistic Bots very rarely connect to the Nexus, but when they do, they usually hit like a truck because you've got so many ways to create cards in this list. And again, they're elusive, so they help you out with your Mind Meld finisher. So Poro Cannon here. I run 1 Death Ray just because it helps with some of the 1-drops. Just a nice poke. And it also, again, the second and third version of this are considered created cards. They help Ballistic Bot. It's also a fine card to just pitch and feel good about. So I run it as a 1 of. This is not necessarily in every version of this list. 3 Fizz and then 3 Twisted Fate. Those are your champions. Fizz here, kind of resilient, also elusive and cheap, or at least for the most part elusive. He doesn't gain elusive until you've played a spell, but the reality is you're playing a bunch of spells in this list. So he's an elusive. Rummage is a powerhouse in this list, and it's even more so because of stress testing. So Rummage is a card that lets you dig very deep, but you have so many created cards, whether it's ignitions created by Ballistic Bot or Poros or stuff from Burblefish, etc., that it's very easy to find 2 things to discard. And then if you're discarding stress testing, you draw even more. So I'll, for example, say I run 3 stress testing in my list. I know a lot of versions of this only run 2, but I run 3 because the power of these 2 in conjunction with Twisted Fate means that sometimes you can just level Twisted Fate at instant speed. Now, granted, it takes a concentrated hand, meaning like your hand doesn't do much else, but there's still something oddly satisfying about playing a Twisted Fate. And then when somebody goes to pop him, if you have, you know, 3 stress testings and 2 rummages, you can just level him at burst speed and there's nothing they can do about it. So anyway, this card is a powerhouse, lets you dig really deep, allows you to be more consistent. Stress testing just helps that out further. Ballistic Bot, this is here because it creates ignition, and that does a couple of things for you. It can serve as poke damage, right, as you're trying to get chip damage in to set up your big Burblefish turn later. And it also just gives you a free card. Like, you're getting an ignition every turn. If you need to pitch one to a Poro Cannon, if you need to pitch one to a Rummage, you don't really care if you lose an ignition, and you're going to get one back. So this is a staple, absolute 3 of in the list. I'm currently running 2 Coral Creatures. This is kind of like Ballistic Bot in that it gives you a free card, but it also has a tune, but doesn't have the recurring value that Bot has, and it has lower stats. So that's why I go 3 Bot, 2 Coral. 3 Iterative Improvement. This card is really for those big Burblefish turns. So I guess we'll jump down and we'll talk about Burblefish for a minute. This card is a 6-cost 3/1 elusive, but it creates a 1-cost spell in your hand when you summon it, and you reduce its cost by 1 for each spell you've played in the game. Now, spoiler alert, you play a lot of spells in this deck, so what usually happens is you get to a point where you're dropping Burblefish for free, and so if you drop 1 or 2, you play an improvement on 1, and then you replay that for free, suddenly you're swinging for like 10 elusive in a round, and that's without any other tricks. That's not counting a Mind Meld, for example. And that's the big finisher for this deck. This is basically like a combo deck where you kind of stall and you draw through a big portion of your deck, and then you have 1 or 2 explosive turns, whether that is an explosive turn after you've leveled up Twisted Fate or a turn with Burblefish, and then you use that to close out your game. So This card, really strong. Mystic Shot and Get Excited are both 3-ofs because sometimes the damage to the Nexus is a great finisher. Also, they just help you remove some really problematic threats that exist in the game right now. So easy 3-ofs. Get Excited, you have a bajillion things that you can pitch in this list, so you don't really feel bad about the discard. Pick a card. This is here to let you shuffle back in some of your more problematic cards if you draw them early. Like if you get an early Mind Meld, you can shuffle it back. But also they're here to help you level up Twisted Fate. But you don't have to save them for Twisted Fate. Sometimes if your hand is just clunky, you just use pick a card and make it better. This deck is, again, designed to be consistent because you see so many cards on a turn-by-turn basis, especially in the mid game. So pick a card. Versions of this list oftentimes will run 3 of this. So I said earlier, for example, I run 3 stress testing, and I know some people run this as a 2-of, with pick a card as a 3-of. That's pretty common. 1 suit up is here mostly because you want to make people play around it. Like, I'm just going to be honest, that's what it's there for. It can also serve as a great way to save your Twisted Fate. So if somebody tries to Mystic Shot it or even hit it with the Get Excited, if you've got it, you can suit up your TF, maybe saves him for a round. And then Zap, elusive unit, draws you cards. It's like the cousin to Burblefish. It's not nearly as efficient in this deck, but Zap still has a place. And then the 1 Mind Meld for a finisher on the top end. So that's the list. We're gonna go play a couple games on it now so you can see it in action, and let's do that now. Interesting. Darius Draven, but with Freljord. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
I have my orders.
Let's go with the bot. It's entirely possible they have a combat trait that would allow them to survive that trade, but felt pretty good about the bot there. Let's do this because we get our attune and another card, which is a jailbreak. Solid. Okay. So far, this is a really good start, with the exception of our suit up here. Let's see if they have something that protects this, because if not, I'll happily swing in with the 2 of these. Love to bank more spell mana, but I feel like this is an aggressive list, and if we can keep them on their back foot a bit, as weird as it sounds, sometimes the best thing you can do against other aggressive decks is kind of ramp up your own counter pressure. All right, so here I believe our best bet is to use this as a chump blocker. Our issue is that even if we use suit up on, you know, say coral creatures and block, they're going to have the axe plus the quick attack. So with that in mind, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's fire off jailbreak and see if we just find something even better to chump block with. Sure, the 1/1 is perfect. And I'll take a poke. I think we save the rest though. I'd like to bank spell mana going into this turn. Another draw engine. So we've 2 pick a cards, but no Twisted Fate yet. We'll develop Fizz here because we can maybe make that elusive. All right, that's a big Yeti. So we can make some poros if we ditch the suit up. But I really kind of want to use a pick a card on it. So I think we're just going to send Fizz here. This is a misplay by me, for the record. I was unaware that we were one off. Doing the mental math, for whatever reason, I thought I needed 2 more spells. So if I would have done it while he was still in combat, that would have been 1 more damage. So let's just go ahead and pretend that didn't happen. I think this has got to eat this, and this has got to eat this. There's not a lot we can do about the rest at the moment. At least not effectively. Oh wow, I was fully expecting some combat tricks there. Let's take the blue card.
Soak it in.
Just want more mana to work with.
We feast tonight, Bard.
Okay. Let's see what we get from the burble. Let's take this rummage on the ignition. And I guess the jailbreak. Mind Meld is a great pickup for us. Already up to 7. We still have a lot of mana here. But we're gonna try this as well.
Gotta trust your instincts.
And then just hope they don't have an answer. And they do have an answer, and there's not much we could have done about it either way. I mean, we could pop this rummage, but that's not enough to get us there. So sadly, I think that Twisted Fate's going to meet his end, which is a bit of a shame. So we'll pass. We still have a solid opportunity here with elusives and the mind meld, so right now we're just going to try to have them soak a bit. I think we still get rid of the suit up here. At 5 mana they could have another one of those strikes. But even if they do, now that we're up to 9, that would still be a victory for us, so. Mind Meld! I love this animation. Don't have enough for Harsh Winds. Yeah, that's gotta be it. So, victory! Let's go play another. Okay. Looks like probably some form of discard aggro that's just also running Teemo. And as a result, I think this is fine. 1 drop, 2 drop. I mean, this is semi-questionable, but since we already have at least 1 Twisted Fate, I think I'm fine with this. Alternative 2 drop feels good. Running into so much aggro today, it's kind of wild. Hey, you remember when I said it's probably discard aggro? So now the question is, like, do I use this here? I don't think I do. Your health is a huge resource in this game, and I feel really bad about taking any damage at all, so I kind of want to block, but I think we take this. This is just gonna end up being discard fodder in all likelihood. But I think right now we're just gonna try to soak what we can and hope for like a really impactful red card. You know, I said this is discard fodder, but there's maybe an argument to be made about you use it to block here. But again, if you're setting up for the red card, Draven here would suck. At some point, Jinx is going to suck really hard because they're already getting pretty close to emptying their hand. An Arena would suck. I'm referring to the guy who gives everybody +1 when he attacks. So like if this is Poro and then that guy on a full board, then I think we just auto lose. Thank the Lord that wasn't the case, but instead they just discard a vision, which is equally as bad. And so as much as we want to just make this be the most impactful red card ever, I don't think we can afford to. I mean, this takes us down to 4 already. So this for sure has to go here. I think this has to go here, which keeps us at least respectable.
So ordinary.
And then we still at least have the bot. And then even post red card, we're gonna have to deal with whatever it is that they've still got in hand here. You know what? No. I think we take the red card now.
Never lost a fair game.
We save the ignition to pitch to a rummage. You know, if we would have taken a blue card, he'd be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already, which would have been tempting if we had stress testings like at all. But we're just gonna hope that the red card is enough of a slowdown.
Hesitation's a tell.
Jinx stands for Jinx.
All right, that changes things up a little bit. I'd love to be able to pop this, get excited on her, but we can't. And then we find the mystic shot that we could attack and use the quick attack. We're just 1 mana shy.
Gotta trust your instincts.
Over and over and over here. All right, so I think we just go to the next turn and pray. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We gotta pick a card, we gotta rummage. Gets a little bit better with the stress testing as well. We have to get excited for this, so as long as they don't just drop 4 cards at burst speed here, which, you know, is actually a possibility. Like, that's the problem. Like, burst, rummage, and she levels, and she's outside of get excited range, so we just really need to, we really need this get excited to pop off, and then we'll be fine.
Is he here yet? Oh, no.
Now, if they play another Jinx on top of it, that's bad. But you could argue that instead of just playing Jinx on top of it, they'll want to use the second one as a pop. Yeah, here. Which is exactly what I would have anticipated. Now, he's at 3 of 8. I take him to 6 of 8. We've already used 1 rummage, though. We have to find the last rummage in the deck. And then even if we level him, he's still gonna die. So I think you just let this go. I think you just let this go. So we have a Mystic Shot for the spider. We end up likely taking 3 because I think they pull. It's a shame that we don't have a created card so that the bot could actually kill this in the trade. But it is what it is. We'll have to take the 3. Wait and see how it goes. Now, we have got them out of resources, but again, that's not necessarily the best if they find another Jinx. The improvement here is moderately helpful. It's another sizable body for us.
Me too, kiddo. Me too.
And since we need to find answers, I think we're just going to do this. Our biggest issue right now is a severe lack of finishers, like no burble fish, anything that we can actually use our mind meld effectively with. Found the rummage. $25 cards left, 2 of which are Twisted Fate.
I stand for
Oof.
I gotta work with this joker.
That's so bad for us. This is going to end up having to soak it. Not even in a good way, and this is going to have to... Oh, I mean, they have this, right? So, are we just dead is the question. Let's go with a stress testing and an ignition and see what we find. The answer is gold card.
I'm always up for a round or two. Dead in their tracks.
So we are not necessarily dead.
Watch and learn.
Inferior design.
So the issue here is because they have the axe, you would normally say like you can't block stuff, but you have to discard something. So this will take us down to 6. But we also have that suit up if we really want to save something. I'm not sure that that's what we want to do, though. I think we're just going to want to bank that spell mana.
Gotta trust your instincts.
So that our Twisted Fate can pop off sooner. Yep, I think this is the way that we want to go. It's such a hard choice because once you get this low, things like Decimate become potentially problematic. I mean, this helps a little bit. I think we want to play the Fizz too. As much as I want to bank spell mana here, I think bodies are going to be important because of the mind meld potential. Yeah, I think that's it.
Can you improve perfection?
So we really need to find more burblefish. So I think we're gonna do this. Well, there's a stress testing. A little bit of a visual bug, but all right, not exactly burblefish. They do have the one card in hand. Okay, that's actually fine that it's him. I'm just worried about what they are potentially going to top deck here with their 3 cards and 5 mana, because we were looking to win via mind meld in our elusive units. Yep, not much we can do. I think this is our window. I don't think we can really survive another turn. So this is just a check, you know? I think this is a do you have it check. I'd love to have more mana available as backup. But even if we can connect with 2 of them at 8, that gets them to 3, and then our get excited represents potential lethals, so. Yay, mind meld, at least that went off. And we get the surrender. Whew, man, that was a sweaty game. So much aggro on the ladder, but this is the list. Hopefully you get an idea for how it functions. I'd love to play more games on it, but you know. So anyway, that's the list. You pretty much get an idea for how it functions. Burblefish is a strong win condition along with the other elusive units. A lot of times you can level Twisted Fate. Didn't really get good opportunities to do so, but when it happens, I assure you it's incredibly powerful and you can really pop off. I've seen it do some insane things. So anyway, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. And again, more tournament-ish lists coming in the next couple days.